The bear grew up beside her son. Years later, his reaction left everyone crying. The small wooden house stood at the edge of the forest, its chimney puffing out thin trails of smoke on a cool spring morning. Inside, Anna, a young mother, was preparing breakfast while her 4-year-old son Daniel played near the door. Their life was simple, quiet days filled with chores, laughter, and the ever-present hum of the forest just beyond their backyard. That morning, something unusual happened. Daniel came running into the kitchen, his cheeks flushed and his eyes wide with excitement. "Mom, come see. There's something by the trees," he shouted, tugging at her sleeve. At first, Anna thought it might be a deer or a stray dog. But when she followed Daniel outside, her breath caught in her throat. Just a few steps away, near the tree line, sat a tiny trembling bear cub. Its fur was damp and messy, its black eyes wide with fear and confusion. The cub let out a soft, pitiful cry, the kind that pierced straight into the heart. Anna's first instinct was fear. Where there was a cub, a mother bear couldn't be far behind. Her eyes scanned the forest anxiously, expecting to see a massive shadow emerging from the trees. But there was nothing. The woods were silent. Daniel, with the innocence of a child, stepped forward. "He's alone, Mom. He's just a baby." Anna grabbed his arm gently. "Stay back, Daniel. It could be dangerous." And yet, something in her heart hesitated. The cub looked so weak, so helpless, as if it hadn't eaten in days. Its small frame shook with exhaustion. Against her better judgment, Anna felt a pull of compassion. That single moment of hesitation, her choice to step closer instead of turning away, would change their lives forever. From that day forward, the bear cub became part of their world. At first, Anna was cautious, unsure if she had made a terrible mistake. She fed the cub small portions of goat's milk from a bottle, Daniel holding the animal gently as it lapped the liquid with desperate hunger. Each sip seemed to pull the cub further from death and closer to life. Daniel named him Bruno, and soon the name echoed through the fields as the little boy called for his furry companion to join in play. Bruno followed Daniel everywhere, stumbling after him on wobbly legs, tripping over sticks, tumbling down grassy slopes, and then getting right back up with a determined snort. At night, the cub curled beside the boy's bed, a bundle of warmth and soft fur. Anna would peek in and see Daniel's small hand resting on Bruno's back, rising and falling with each steady breath. Despite her early doubts, she realized something extraordinary was happening. Her son and the cub were growing as brothers. The months passed quickly. Bruno grew stronger, his once frail body filling out with muscle. His paws, once so tiny, now left deep impressions in the mud. And yet, his heart remained as gentle as when Daniel had first held him. The boy taught him how to chase butterflies without crushing them, how to splash in the creek without startling the fish, how to run through tall grass without knocking Anna's laundry from the line. Anna's neighbors were stunned. Some whispered about the danger. How could she allow a wild animal so close to her child? But others marveled at the sight of a boy and a bear playing as if they had known no other life. For Daniel, Bruno wasn't just a bear. He was his best friend, his guardian, and his constant companion. Together, they laughed, tumbled, and explored the world, bound by a friendship that defied nature itself. What no one could know then was how deep this bond would grow, and how, in time, it would be tested in ways that would leave everyone speechless. As the seasons changed, Bruno grew into a magnificent young bear. His fur became thick and glossy, his movements steady and confident. By the time Daniel was 6, Bruno was nearly as tall as Anna when standing on his hind legs. Yet for all his size and strength, he remained gentle, especially with the boy who had once held him like a brother. Life on the little homestead became a picture few would believe if they hadn't seen it with their own eyes. In the mornings, Daniel and Bruno would chase each other across the meadow until they both collapsed, laughing and panting, one with the giggle of a child, the other with playful huffs. In the afternoons, Bruno followed Anna as she tended her garden, nosing curiously at the vegetables, often stealing a carrot or two before lumbering back to Daniel. But the world outside their home was not always so welcoming. News of a family raising a bear traveled quickly. Some villagers came to watch from a distance, marveling at the bond. "It's like something out of a storybook," one old woman whispered. But others shook their heads in fear. "A bear is still a bear," they warned. "One day it will remember its nature, and then what?" Anna wrestled with those doubts herself. At night, she lay awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering if she had made the right choice. But every time she saw Bruno nuzzle Daniel's cheek with surprising tenderness, her fears softened. She saw not a wild beast, but a creature who had chosen trust over instinct, love over fear. For Daniel, there was no question at all. "He's my brother," the boy said firmly one evening as Bruno curled at his side. "He'll never hurt me." The family had become something the world had never expected: a mother, a son, and a bear, living not in fear but in harmony. Yet even in the warmth of this strange household, life carried a truth Anna couldn't ignore. Bruno was still growing, and the day would come when their little family would face a heartbreaking choice. By the time Daniel turned 10, Bruno was no longer the small cub who once stumbled after him. He had become a powerful young bear, towering over Anna and nearly twice her weight. His paws, once clumsy and soft, now carried sharp claws that left deep grooves in tree trunks when he stretched. Though Bruno remained gentle with Daniel, Anna could feel the shift. Neighbors no longer came to watch from afar, they avoided the homestead altogether. Whispers in the village grew louder: "It isn't safe. That bear will turn one day. No family can live like this forever." Anna tried to push the warnings from her mind, but deep down, she knew they carried some truth. Bruno had been raised with love, but he was still a creature of the wild. Keeping him confined to their small farm was unfair, to him and to Daniel, who deserved a safe life without fear of judgment or tragedy. One late summer evening, Anna sat Daniel down on the porch. Bruno lay stretched at their feet, his golden-brown fur shimmering in the last rays of sunlight. "Daniel," she began softly, "Bruno is growing. He needs space. A home that's his, not ours. He belongs to the forest." Daniel's eyes widened. "No, Mom. He belongs here, with us. With me." His voice cracked, tears already welling. Anna wrapped her arms around her son, her own throat tight with sorrow. "I know how much you love him. I love him too. But loving someone means doing what's best for them, even when it hurts." The next morning, with Daniel holding Bruno's thick fur for what felt like the last time, they led him into the forest. Anna carried a basket of food as an offering, her heart heavy with every step. At the clearing where the trees stretched tall and endless, she whispered a trembling goodbye. Daniel clung to Bruno, burying his face in the bear's fur. The cub who had once been abandoned was no longer helpless. He was strong, wild, and ready for a life beyond them. As Bruno finally turned and padded into the shadows of the forest, Daniel's sobs echoed through the trees, marking the end of a chapter neither of them would ever forget. Time has a way of softening memories, but some bonds never fade. Years passed, and Daniel grew from a boy into a young man. The farm was still there, though quieter now. He worked alongside Anna, taller and stronger, but there was always a hollow place in his heart where Bruno had once been. Sometimes, at night, Daniel would dream of running through the meadows with his brother bear, their laughter mixing with the rustle of leaves. But when he awoke, the bed was empty, and the forest outside seemed impossibly silent. One crisp autumn afternoon, Daniel decided to hike deeper into the forest than he ever had before. He carried no weapon, only a small pack and the same curiosity that had once led him to discover Bruno as a child. The air smelled of pine and earth, and the leaves crunched beneath his boots. Then in the distance, he heard it, a low, familiar huff. Daniel froze. Slowly he turned, his heart pounding. Emerging from the trees was a massive bear, its coat rich and full, its body powerful and commanding. The bear's eyes locked on his, and for a moment, Daniel couldn't breathe. Instinct screamed at him to run. But something deeper, older, told him to stay. "Bruno!" Daniel whispered. The bear tilted his head, taking a step forward. Then another. His movements were steady but not aggressive. And then, in a moment that stole the breath of the forest itself, the bear lowered his great head, rumbling softly, the same sound he once made as a cub, curling by Daniel's side. Tears blurred Daniel's vision. He stepped closer, reaching out with a trembling hand. Against all odds, Bruno leaned into his touch, pressing his massive head gently against Daniel's chest. For anyone else, this would have been impossible, a wild bear showing affection to a man. But for Daniel, it was like no time had passed at all. And when Bruno finally stood tall, towering above him, the forest seemed to hold its breath. It was not a reunion of man and beast, it was the return of brothers, bound by a love that had survived years, distance, and the wild itself. Word of Daniel's reunion with Bruno spread quickly. Villagers who once doubted now whispered in awe. Some even followed him into the forest, hoping to catch a glimpse of the bear that had grown up beside a boy and returned years later with the same gentle heart. For Daniel, the reunion was more than a miracle, it was proof of something deeper. Standing beside Bruno, he realized that love had shaped the bear as much as it had shaped him. Bruno hadn't forgotten the nights curled by the bed, the games in the meadow, or the boy who had fed him when the world turned its back. Anna, now older and frilier, wept when she saw them together again. "I thought letting him go was the hardest thing I'd ever do," she whispered. "But seeing him return to you like this, it was worth every tear." Daniel wrapped an arm around his mother, watching Bruno disappear back into the forest's embrace. He knew they couldn't keep him, not anymore. Bruno was wild, and the wild was his true home. But that didn't make their bond any less real. Looking into the trees, Daniel understood the lesson life had given him. Family isn't defined by blood or species. It's defined by love, trust, and the courage to let go when the time comes. And sometimes, if that love is strong enough, even the wildest of hearts will find their way back home.